Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for this opportunity. As Malcolm's already said, we're going to talk to you this morning about something called Eduroam. This is a topic that emerged out of one of those NHS Hack Day discussions. I was very pleased to be sort of included in the open source community discussions. And I think the Eduroam credentials for open source are, it is very much based on Radius server technology, and one of the key components often used is an open source Radius server called FreeRadius, and it is also based on a community action federated trust model, which also links in very well with the open source movement. I'm not actually speaking alone today. I'm very excited that I'm actually speaking with a colleague, Mackennon, who's actually going to talk about an implementation in the NHS, the very first of its kind at the South London and Maudsley NHS Trust. I'm going to do a bit of context, but I want to get on to Ricky as soon as possible because I think that will be probably a lot more interesting. Anyway, just to the original sort of title of the presentation was Internet for Free Anywhere You Roam, something similar to that. And that is, of course, it's not totally free because someone has to actually provide the service, but that is the model, free at the point of use. It is an international development. It came out of Europe originally, but has now transcended the continental borders and is a worldwide initiative. And it is something which is very heavily used in education and research, and potentially could be used in the NHS as well. So Eduroam basically allows visited network access automatically with authentication back to your home organisation. Janet, I work for Janet. I'm the NHS HE coordinator there, and my role is to try and improve interoperability with the NHS from a research and education point of view, because the NHS and clinical research and education is such big business for UK universities that it's seen as, that coordination is seen as a vital role. Janet is the UK's national research and education network, and is a public body and is a charity. So a bit more about Eduroam. As I already said, it provides network connectivity irrespective of the user's location, as long as you're in a place which is providing an Eduroam service as part of the federation. It's the authentication mechanism happens in a secure way back to the host organisation's credentials. It's built on international standards, the 802.1x IEEE standard, and as I've already said, it's a federated service. So Janet runs the federation in the UK, but there are international level parts of the federation. It's an interfederation between countries. It's been very successful and is very well liked throughout the UK for education and research. I believe there are now 178 organisations using it, and 78 are in the process of taking it up. Most universities now have it. There's uptake, which I'll talk about in the health service already in a sort of partial way. Further education is another big growth area. It's not quite got the same footprint as in with universities, and some local authorities have taken it on, museums and libraries, etc. I've mentioned a number of times available worldwide, particularly prolific in the what someone called the European Song Contest footprint of Europe and Australia, New Zealand, Southeast Asia. There's growing use in the United States. So how does this actually work? I think the first thing to say is there are two aspects to this. Once you've joined the federation, which is a free thing to do, and then there are two bits of the service. One is providing it as a visited organisation, and the other is being a home organisation. If you're the visited organisation, you are essentially providing internet connectivity to users that come from any Eduroam enabled organisation anywhere in the world. And so that requires usually some sort of VLAN to an internet connection, Eduroam SSID. So for instance, a very typical case study for the NHS is where medical students are visiting NHS trusts as part of their clinical placement. If the NHS trust has visited capacity, possibly through their university, then automatically they'll be picking up network connectivity. The home organisation bit is where you are providing the Eduroam service and allowing your users to actually go to other Eduroam enabled sites to pick up that network connectivity, because the authentication essentially goes back to you, your organisation, to check that that user can be authenticated, and then the message goes back to the user, to the organisation providing the actual internet connectivity. So here in this diagram, someone pitches up at this college, member of the Eduroam Federation. They can see that there is Wi-Fi capability and there's an Eduroam SSID. If you're from a place which is also part of the Eduroam Federation and is providing the home service, it will automatically authenticate you to connect to the network and to the internet. And the way the authentication works is that there's a sort of hierarchy of radius servers, the local one, up to the national one, international if necessary, but then down to the home organisation's radius server, where it checks your credentials against its own identity management systems. And then the message goes back, yes, authenticated, comes all the way back to the visited site, and network access is granted. So that happens automatically. The visited site, as I've already said, provides the internet type of the network capacity. This diagram isn't particularly, that bit in the middle really is the connection is through the visited site. This was a slightly more complicated version of the same thing, which I shall skip over. There are major benefits. The benefits we see in higher education research is that, essentially the people that have it just love it because you automatically authenticate onto a network. If you walk through London, you probably authenticate several times just walking down the street as you pass different universities or research institutes. It saves a lot of time. It takes a lot of the effort out of guest access. It encourages institution collaborative working. And you can actually enable it in different ways. It can be sort of like vanilla internet access to a particular standard, but you can overlay security access on top of that. Typically as well, you're using VPNs over the internet access back to more secure resources. So quickly there are three basic models of extending to the NHS. The typical one at the moment is that the university Eduroam footprint is just extended into the NHS through a collaborative arrangement. There's a lot of places doing this. There are case studies on the website at the end from Oxfordshire, Truro, but Aberdeen was one of the early adopters, as Dundee, Sheffield, Manchester, Leicester, Bristol, Swansea, Cardiff, and great Dyson St Thomas's, St George's, etc. There are a lot of examples of this extension approach. A new novel approach which does a similar sort of thing, which essentially, in the first approach, what actually happens is the authentication messages goes directly through a local link back to the university, and also the internet connection essentially goes back to the university. So the university is picking up those aspects, and so it only can work as a visited site. It doesn't work as a home organisation site. So it doesn't allow NHS people to roam onto other Eduroam places. But the new model, again, for a just visited site is Western Area Health Trust and Western-super-Mare, working with the University of Bristol. They've essentially provided the internet access part, but they've collaborated directly with the University of Bristol to do all their authentication processing. And that bit works through the M3 Janet Gateway. Normally M3 is a blocker to NHS organisations being a full Eduroam member to do the home service, but this is a way of at least providing a visited service without and still use the M3 Internet Gateway. But finally, the sort of pure, fully Eduroam enabled approach is to join the Eduroam Federation in your own right, in support of the research and education mission, and then you can be a home or a visited site. As I said already, you really need your own internet connection to this, separate from M3. And I'm very pleased at this point to hand over to Ricky Mackennon, because South London and Morsey NHS Foundation Trust are the first site to actively do this and are in implementation at the moment. So Ricky, thank you.
Okay, I'm Ricky Mackennon, Deputy Director of ICT for South London and Maudsley. mental health trust. We are 1/4 of an academic health sciences centre, and it is the win-win situation for using Eduroam, where we have clinicians collaborating with researchers and people from the universities to research clinical information to transform clinical practice. We have proliferation of mobile devices. I'm sure everybody's aware of that. We have community-based services, and we have taken treatment into the home of clients or patients, and through 3G and secure connectivity back to the trust clinical applications. The issues that face us are in relation to the collaboration with the research counterparts that we have in the academic world and the universities. And what we have seen is that people are happy to go and have a face-to-face collaboration meeting, but where there is a cost associated, and that has been ever increasing with 3G and the proliferation of these devices, they are looking for a supplier-led free hotspot. And people say free, nothing's free, we understand that. Malcolm's already alluded to that you need some back-end infrastructure. I see that is in thousands, but not in tens of thousands. We're talking single-figure thousands here. So that said, what we see from the Eduroam is collaborative on-site collaboration and cost benefits in relation to 3G reduction and the administration overhead of transferring account administration. So Malcolm's already shown you some of this diagram, I think, and what the right-hand side here tells you is that is the worldwide Eduroam solution. We're concentrating on the left-hand side of this, which is in the UK, and we've got visiting organisations coming in and using Radius server. We use and we have taken advice on that and opted for the free Radius open source service. The technical staff are happy with the results. The server is fast, it's feature rich, it's modular, and it is a scalable solution. It also supports network access control and WiMAX, which is cloud internet based. Okay, so this is a conventional NHS model using the M3 connection, and what it allows is for people in the universities to come into the NHS and authenticate back to their own university. What our solution does, it replaces the M3 connection with a direct internet access connection, and what it enables us to do is to, the other thing that's been added here is a Radius server within the South London and Maudsley that authenticates against our Active Directory account creation. So it's real time, and it reduces the administration overhead of having to share your user accounts with universities providing you with that Radius authentication. But what it enables is for SLAM authenticated users to go into a university or anywhere where Eduroam is transmitted and actually get internet access. And as Malcolm's alluded to as well, and we've got an APN, 3PAGN, connectivity back secure access. We were using this to use VPN secure connectivity back to clinical systems within the organisation, within South London and Maudsley. What it also does is it still allows the university and the graduates, if you like, to come into a SLAM premises and gain access back to the internet and eventually back to the university systems as well. Okay, so what was the challenges that we had? One of them was the authenticated user. What we didn't want to do, and it was clear that the governance, the information governance area, the way we work in, is a mental health institution. It has obviously patients and clinical information that we are always being told, and rightly so, that we need to be safeguarding these individuals. So information has got to be key in relation to this, and obviously can't get out into the sort of wider public domain. So what we have enabled is access when people visit the university campuses. When SLAM staff are on a SLAM location, they will still need to use the internal infrastructure and the logging of internet usage internally within the trust, and that's the policies that we've adopted. So summing up, what we've got, I think, is we're an employing body user authentication. We've got roaming Wi-Fi hotspot internet access, and we've got 3G and administration cost benefits on reductions, and that's all been done with the full agreement with our head of IG and our governance committee.